Show. This is Ryan Shumpert. I'm Rick Butler, standing here at the top of the Food City Center for a change as Tennessee wins their SEC opening game over number 23 Arkansas by a score of 76-52. Ryan, there were a lot of things that went right for Tennessee in this game. Certainly, rebounding one of those
Yeah.
things. Chaz Lanier shot making one of those things. What's kind of standing out to you here, 30 minutes or so after the final whistle blew?
Well, I think you can go in two directions. I'll go with the more big picture one, which is I think Chaz Lanier and Igor Milicic are two of Tennessee's probably three most important players.
Yeah.
They're two guys that have not played at SEC level. Milicic did spend a year at Virginia, but didn't play a ton that year. 2 years at Charlotte before this year. So a lot of talk yesterday about SEC play, the rigors of SEC play, the challenges of that. And those are two guys Tennessee's going to need to be really good, and they were fantastic tonight. I mean, Chaz Lanier is the best way I can put it. Scored 29 points, rained in 5 threes, just knocking down shots. And then Igor Milicic, I think, was even better than him. Scored, I think it was 13 points, grabbed 18 rebounds, was just an absolute man on the glass. Just a phenomenal performance there. His 6 offensive rebounds would have equaled the most rebounds from a single player on either team in the game. So those two guys were just phenomenal for Tennessee today, and Tennessee's going to need those two guys to be good. So that was a very good sign as they get SEC play going.
Yeah, the 18 rebounds were extremely impressive. I mean, just 11 off of Kentucky's total for the game at 29 as a whole. They talked about it a little bit after the game, both Rick Barnes and Igor himself, just saying, hey, one of the things that Greg Polinsky, the coaching staff, has been harping on this year, being able to crash the glass. And, man, when you have we've talked about the athleticism that Milicic brings to the table, and I covered it a couple different times from an offensive perspective. But, man, he can use that athleticism to his advantage in the rebounding category as well. Just able to go and find a good spot, be able to win a battle. But, again, it's that size. It's just a little bit of speed right there in the box. I like what he's doing. And, obviously, it gives Tennessee a big edge, especially in games like this, especially when the crowd can really start. We're going to talk about the crowd more soon, but especially when they can really sort of fuel things as well. Man, that's one of those things that has to feel like an avalanche to opposing teams. John Calipari talked about it in his postgame. Just, hey, we told guys to go rebound, and they couldn't get the job done.
Yeah, well, I mean, we talked about it on our kind of leading into SEC play podcast earlier this week. Of Tennessee expected Igor to be a good rebounder. They thought the numbers indicated that from what he did at Charlotte, but it was mostly on the defensive side of the ball, or on the defensive end of the court, I should say, and not a ton on offense. He's been a very good offensive rebounder. He's still in a lot of possessions for Tennessee. Cade Phillips is doing that too. And I think when you talk about this game in general, that's what stands out the most, is the way Tennessee just dominated the glass. I think John Calipari used the word they got physically manhandled.
Yeah.
And that was accurate. I mean, in the first half, Arkansas, I multiple times I say Calipari today. I wanted to say Kentucky, typing it or now speaking, but multiple times during the game or at halftime, 12 rebounds for Arkansas, 9 for Igor Milicic. Tennessee just out-rebounded them a ton. And kind of like you were alluding to, Calipari talked about it. Felt like anytime Arkansas could get anything good going, Tennessee would get an offensive rebound after a long possession and end up scoring. And I think that's another thing that stood out too. I mean, Tennessee took control of the game about a quarter of the way through the first half. They got that lead up to double digits, and I'm not sure it hardly got under double digits for the final 30 minutes of the game.
Yeah, I believe it was a 12-9 advantage, something like that early into the game, and then Tennessee went on a big run. I mean, something like a 26-8 run, something in those lines.
10-0 to start it,
yes,
I think.
10-0,
Yep,
maybe even it got up to 12-0, but and I think you give Tennessee starters a lot of credit in this game. Not a ton of scoring came from the bench, and Cade Phillips did suffer an injury at some point during the game. I believe Rick Barnes said afterwards he was available, but
and he did come back in. He
did come back
a ton afterwards.
So we'll kind of monitor that as it goes forward. Not a great shooting night from the bench, but again, Tennessee starters were able to set the tone. They were able to keep the tone. Zakai Ziegler himself ends with 12 points. 4 Tennessee players ends up in double-digit scoring after Felix Agpara got up to 10 points in the game himself. So Tennessee starters got this one done. They didn't need their bench too much because those guys were able to set the tone and then keep it.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think something you saw today that we're going to see the rest of the way is, like, anytime any Tennessee player gets banged up in a game, it really doesn't matter who it is, you're going to be holding your breath. It was Jordan Gainey in the first half, it was Cade Phillips in the second half, who left the game, kind of holding something or limping off the court. Both came back in, both were fine. But that's kind of life with as little depth as Tennessee has. It's going to be something you're watching for the rest of the way.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It's kind of what I see looking at the box score. Again, we talked about the starters versus the bench. Is there anything else that has stood out to you from this game? Again, a huge opening statement from Tennessee here to start SEC play.
No, I think it's a lot of what we talked about. I mean, I don't think the shooting percentages, at least from the field, were all that different from Tennessee and Arkansas. But you turn the ball over a few less times, you get that many more opportunities by rebounds. You just, how many more shots did Tennessee take?
7 in total.
It's just 7 in total. I would have
No,
thought it
excuse
more.
me. That was makes 16.
You
16.
shoot the ball 16 more times than your opponent, you're going to win 9 times out of 10. So I think it's really that simple for this one in a lot of ways, and a nice jump start for Tennessee before they head on the road next week for a pair of challenges at Florida and Texas.
One more thing that I want to mention as I'm seeing this in the box score right here. Tennessee goes 12 of 15 from the charity stripe. Arkansas, on the other hand, went 6 of 13. That's the kind of stat that you look at in SEC play when Tennessee goes to take on Florida next week. When they're playing some of these great teams, got to hit your shots at the free throw line. Arkansas was not able to. That might have not been the difference maker in the game for them, but certainly Tennessee loves to see that 12 of 15 at the line. So that's another big thing that Tennessee can maybe take and build on this.
Yeah, and I think twice in the first half, in the bonus, Field Clock Parr hit 2 free throws. Zakai Ziegler hit 2 free throws. Those are the big ones. Those are some big swings. Rick Barnes talks about those being turnovers when you miss the front end. So that's big. And kind of, I guess, the one other storyline we haven't talked about, Jonas Adu making his return. It was kind of Jonas-esque. I mean, that was the thing with him last year where you'd see how he started the game was largely how he was going to play. And first couple of minutes, he goes to the foul line, misses both free throws. You kind of felt like it was not going to be a good night for Jonas. He was really ineffective in the first half. Did a couple good things in the second half, but certainly a underwhelming return to Knoxville for the former Tennessee All-SEC center.
And that crowd wanted to make sure that they were in his ear from the start to the finish of the game.
That.
There was nothing that Jonas wasn't doing on the court that if it didn't go his way, Tennessee fans were going to get loud, and they were certainly going to let him know. So some of the guys talked about it after the game, a lot of what you would expect, from Zakai Ziegler, Rick Barnes. But if you want to go and check out those post-game press conferences, well, you're already on the YouTube. So just go ahead and search around for that, and you can find everybody's from Rick Barnes, John Calipari, and the 2 Tennessee players, Zakai Ziegler and Igor Milicic. Anything left from you?
I think that's all I got.
All right, well, let's get out of here. Tennessee starts the SEC season off with a bang, a statement win over number 23 Arkansas by a score of 76-52. Chaz Lanier leads all scorers with 29 points in a phenomenal game from the Tennessee transfer to kick off his conference slate. That's Ryan Shumpert. I'm Rick Butler. You've been listening to the Rocky Top Insider postgame show.